If you ever hit someone on the road at night and there is no body, don't tell yourself it was nothing. Because that's exactly how it starts. I wasn't speeding. I wasn't drunk. I wasn't on my phone. I was just driving home after midnight on a road I had driven hundreds of times before. No lights, no houses, just trees and asphalt and that quiet that only exists when the world feels asleep. I remember thinking how empty everything looked, and then something stepped into my headlights. I slammed the brakes. The car lurched, and there was a sound I still hear sometimes when I try to sleep. Not a crash, not a scream, just a heavy, dull impact, like hitting something that wasn't meant to fall. The engine stalled. The car went silent. For a moment, I couldn't move. My hands were stuck on the steering wheel. My heart felt too loud for my body. Then I got out. The road was empty. Nobody. No blood. No torn fabric. Nothing. I walked forward, then back. Shined my phone into the ditch. Called out. No answer. But the damage on my car was real. The hood dented inward. One headlight cracked. Something had been there. Something had been hit. I waited 10 minutes. Then 20. I kept expecting her to suddenly appear, standing behind me, or lying in the grass, or crawling out of the darkness. Nothing happened. I got back into the car and drove home, checking the mirrors every few seconds. That night I didn't sleep. When I finally did, I dreamed of the road, not the accident. Just the road. Endless. Empty. Then I saw the red. A woman in a long red dress, standing in the middle of the lane. She wasn't hurt. She wasn't moving. She was waiting. I tried to speak. I couldn't. I tried to run. My legs felt heavy, like they were sinking into the asphalt. She turned her head slightly, not enough for me to see her face, and I woke up gasping for air. I told myself it was guilt, shock, my brain trying to fill in what I couldn't explain. But guilt doesn't leave wet footprints on your bedroom floor. That happened on the third night. Bare feet, dark, damp prints, from my bedroom door to the side of my bed. They were gone by morning, not dried, not smeared. Gone. That's when the dreams change. She was closer every time. The red dress looked heavy now, like it had been soaked and pulled out of cold water. I still couldn't see her face. Every time I tried, my mind slid away from it, like my brain refused to process the details. On the sixth night, she spoke. "You didn't stop," she said. Her voice was calm, not angry, not accusing, just factual. I woke up with my hands around my own throat. After that, I started seeing her while awake. Not clearly, never directly, a flash of red in a reflection. A woman in a red coat. That vanished when I looked again. I stopped driving at night. I avoided the road where it happened. I didn't tell anyone because how do you explain hitting someone who doesn't exist? A week later, I found an article online, old, buried in local news archives. A woman hit by a car late at night. Same road. Same stretch. Body never recovered. Witnesses described her clothing. A red dress. That night, she was waiting for me before I fell asleep. She stood at the foot of my bed, close enough that I could smell her. Damp earth, cold water. "You interrupted," she said. "I didn't mean to," I whispered. She tilted her head, as if considering whether that mattered. "You broke the crossing," she said. "And now you belong to it." The dreams stopped being dreams after that. I would wake up and still feel the road under my feet. Still hear engines in the distance. Sometimes, when I blinked, I wasn't sure where I was anymore. Last night, I stood at my window and watched cars pass below. For a moment, I imagined myself out there, standing in the road, waiting. And the worst part was this. The idea didn't scare me as much as it should have. The next morning, I tried to act normal. I showered. I ate. I answered emails. I even laughed at something on my phone. And the sound of my own laugh felt wrong, like it belonged to someone who wasn't being watched by a woman in a red dress. Because by then, I was sure of one thing. She wasn't just in my sleep. She was in the spaces between my moments. I called a mechanic about the headlight and the dent. He asked what happened. I told him I hit a deer. He said, "Weird damage for a deer," like he wanted to argue, then didn't. I dropped the car off, walked home, and tried not to look at every reflective surface I passed. The first time she appeared in daylight, it was so small I almost convinced myself it didn't count. I was waiting at a crosswalk, watching the little walking man signal flicker on. Cars slowed. A woman with groceries stepped beside me. Someone behind us coughed. And in the glass of the bus stop shelter, I saw a smear of red. Not a person, not fully. Just the suggestion of a dress behind my shoulder. I turned fast enough that my neck popped. There was no one there, but I had felt it like you feel a stare on the back of your head. I crossed the street with my heart pounding, telling myself it was a coincidence. People wear red. Red is everywhere. Red is a color, not a threat. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number, no caller ID, no profile picture. Just a single message. Not enough. I stared at it until the screen dimmed. Not enough for what? I didn't reply. I didn't block it. I took a screenshot like a coward who wanted proof for a future conversation he couldn't imagine having. That night, I didn't take sleeping pills. I didn't drink. I did nothing that could be blamed later. I went to bed like a normal person because I needed to know if the rules were real or if my mind was unraveling. The dream started before I fell asleep. That's the only way I can describe it. 1 second, I was lying in my bed staring at the ceiling. The next, my ears filled with road noise, distant tires, wind, the hollow hum of emptiness. And I was standing on asphalt, barefoot, cold road under my feet, like the ground itself was pulling heat out of my body. Headlights in the distance. A car approaching slowly, as if the driver already sensed something was wrong. On the shoulder she stood in the red dress, still, watching. The approaching car got closer. The headlights washed over my legs, my torso, my face. And I felt something sharp and humiliating, the driver's fear, not my fear his. Like it leaked out of him and hit me as warmth in the air. The car slowed, stopped. The driver's door opened. A man stepped out. He looked confused, hands held out slightly, like he didn't know what he planned to do with them. Then he said my name, my full name, the same way she had. My mouth opened, and I tried to scream at him to get back in his car, to leave, to run, to do anything but come closer. But no sound came out. I couldn't even swallow. The man took a step into the road, and she smiled, not at him, at me. Because she wasn't trying to stop him. She was trying to stop me. The man walked closer, eyes wide, breath visible in the cold. He stared directly into my face like he was trying to recognize me. Are you okay? He asked. His voice sounded normal, human. It made the whole thing worse. He reached out a hand, and the moment his fingers touched my arm, I felt the road change beneath my feet, like the asphalt softened, like it was wet, like it was hungry. I jolted awake in my bed, gasping. My sheets were damp, not with sweat, with cold water. I sat up and stared at my arms. There were marks on my skin, faint and red, like the impression of fingers that were too cold to be alive. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. You felt it, the message read. Then another message immediately after. That's the crossing. I didn't sleep again that night. I spent the next day doing something I had avoided since the accident. Talking to other people about it without using the word ghost. I started small. I asked coworkers if they'd heard about strange things on the highway. I asked the cashier at the corner store if anyone ever hit animals out by the forest road. I asked questions casually, like I was curious, like I wasn't trying to verify my own nightmare. Most people shrugged. Then one older guy at a coffee shop leaned closer and said, You mean the red lady? My skin went cold. He didn't say it like a joke. He said it like a weather report. I asked what he meant. He told me he used to deliver supplies late at night years ago, and there was a stretch of road he avoided. Because sometimes there would be a woman standing there in red. Sometimes in the lane, sometimes on the shoulder. People say she wants you to stop, he said. I tried to smile. That's an urban legend. He stared at me. Not around here, he said. I asked if anyone had ever hit her. He hesitated and nodded once. A friend of a friend, he said. He hit her. No body, no blood, just damage. Nothing. What happened to him? I asked. The man's gaze drifted to the window. He got quiet, he said. Moved away. Said he couldn't sleep because every time he did, he was back on that road. And he'd wake up wet. My throat tightened. Wet? I repeated. The man nodded. Like he'd been out in the rain, he said. Except it wasn't raining. He left after that, as if he'd said too much. I went home with the taste of fear in my mouth. That night, the knocking started again. Not on the front door, not on the walls. Under the floor, 3 soft taps. Tap, tap, tap. I held my breath and listened. The taps repeated, patient, like someone teaching a child a rhythm. Tap, tap, tap. My glass of water on the kitchen counter trembled with tiny ripples. I stared at it like it was a living thing. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Practice, the message said. Then another. Stand still. I didn't reply. I didn't move. The tapping stopped. And for a long time, nothing happened. I thought maybe I'd pass some kind of test just by refusing to engage. Then I heard the sound that made my stomach turn, wet fabric dragging across my hallway floor. Slow, measured, coming closer. I stood in my kitchen, frozen, staring toward the hallway, waiting for a red shape to slide into view. The dragging stopped. Silence. Then, from somewhere too close, I heard her voice. Not loud. Not threatening. Just calm and certain. You're learning, she said. My throat was tight. I managed to whisper, What do you want? A pause. Then she answered in a way that didn't make sense until later. What you took, she said. I didn't take anything, I whispered. Another pause, as if she was letting me finish a sentence she already knew. You took the moment I was supposed to leave, she said. You carried it away. I swallowed hard. What does that mean? Her voice softened. Crossings are rules, she said. Not places. Not roads. Rules. I couldn't see her, but I could feel her presence like cold air pressing against my skin. You broke the rule, she continued. So the rule remembers you. I wanted to ask her why she wore red. I wanted to ask her how she knew my name. I wanted to ask her what the crossing was and what would happen if I couldn't learn. But the truth is, I was afraid to hear the answers. Because part of me already knew. I asked one question anyway. How do I fix it? Silence. Then a faint sound like a smile. You don't fix it, she said. You replace it. The words hit me like nausea. Replace what? Her voice was closer now, as if she'd stepped into my kitchen. Replace yourself, she whispered. Then my phone buzzed again, and the screen lit up the room just enough for me to see it. A wet footprint. On my kitchen tile, bare and fresh. The footprint didn't belong to me. It was smaller, narrower, and the toes were wrong too long, too evenly spaced, like someone had drawn a foot from memory. The footprint pointed toward my front door. Then another print appeared beside it. Then another. A trail forming in real time, as if someone invisible was walking slowly across my floor. I backed away until I hit the counter. My heart hammered. The footprints stopped at my door. And then from the other side of the door came 3 polite taps. Tap, tap, tap. My breath caught. She hadn't just come inside. She had brought the road to my door. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Open, it said. I didn't. The tapping came again. Tap, tap, tap. Then her voice muffled through the door. Just like you opened before. I stared at the handle. My hand twitched not because I wanted to open it, but because my body remembered the first night on the road, how instinct had made me get out of the car, how curiosity had made me search the ditch, how desperation had made me look for a body. She wasn't asking. She was repeating my habits back to me, learning me. I stepped away from the door, shaking my head like she could see it. No, I whispered. The tapping stopped. Silence again. For a moment I thought I'd won. Then I heard footsteps in the hallway behind me. Not wet dragging. Footsteps. Normal. Human. Approaching from my bedroom toward the kitchen. My stomach dropped because I knew I was alone. I turned slowly. The hallway was dark. And in that darkness, someone stood. Not her. A man. My height. My build. My posture. He stepped forward into the light, and I saw his face. It was mine. Not a perfect copy. Something in the eyes was wrong. Something in the expression was too calm. But it was close enough that my brain recoiled. He smiled, and his mouth moved just a fraction of a second too late, like the expression lagged behind the intention. He spoke in my voice. "Open the door," he said softly. I backed away, heart pounding so hard it made my vision pulse. The thing that looked like me took another step, and the air turned colder. Behind him, in the darkness, I saw a faint smear of red. I knew then what she meant by replace. It wasn't metaphor, it was process. She was building a version of me that could stand in the road, and she was training me to stand still. Because if I could stand still, then I could be placed. The copy of me stepped closer. His gaze drifted past my shoulder toward the front door, like he could already see what was waiting outside. And then he looked back at me calm, almost sympathetic. "You won't feel it," he whispered. And that's when the lights flickered once. The faucet in my sink turned on by itself. A thin stream of cold water. The sound filled the apartment like a hiss. The copy of me smiled wider. And I realized something that made me feel sick. The water wasn't running randomly. It was calling her. And whatever came when the road was invited inside was closer than it had ever been. I didn't think. I moved. I grabbed my phone from the counter and threw it at the copy of me, not to hit him, but to distract myself enough to run. The phone shattered against the wall, the screen flashing white before going dark, and for a split second the reflection of his face lagged behind his body. That was all I needed. I ran, not to the door. Never to the door. I ran back into my bedroom and slammed it shut, locking it with hands that barely felt like they belonged to me anymore. I backed away until my calves hit the bed and stood there, listening. The faucet kept running. From the other side of the door, I heard footsteps approach. Normal footsteps. Human weight. The copy of me stopped just outside the door. I expected knocking. Instead, he spoke quietly, like he didn't want to scare me. "You don't have to be afraid," he said in my voice. "You already know how this ends." I pressed my back to the wall, heart pounding. "What are you?" I whispered, even though I knew it could hear me. A pause. Then, "I'm what happens when you don't stop." Something shifted in the hallway. The air grew colder, heavier, like humidity before a storm. Then I heard the dragging sound again. Wet fabric, slow, measured. The copy of me went silent. I knew without seeing it that she was there. The woman in red didn't speak right away. She didn't need to. Her presence filled the space outside my bedroom door, the way a smell fills a room before you know what it is. "You ran," she said eventually, not accusing, observing. "I'm not supposed to stand yet," I said, my voice shaking. Her answer came from everywhere and nowhere. "Everyone stands eventually," she said. "The question is where?" The dragging sound moved away from my door, down the hallway, toward the living room. I heard the front door unlock itself with a soft click. Cold air rushed in. I realized then what she was doing. She wasn't trying to get into my room. She was opening an exit. The copy of me spoke again, softer now. "She's giving you a choice," he said. "She didn't give me one." I clenched my fists. "What happens if I don't choose?" I asked. Silence. Then her voice, calm and final. "Then the road chooses for you." The lights went out. Not flickering, gone. Complete darkness swallowed the room, so thick it felt like pressure against my eyes. I heard water running louder now, not just from the sink, but from somewhere deeper inside the walls, under the floor. I felt the vibration in my feet. Tap, tap, tap. The rhythm again. Under the bed, under the floor, under me. The crossing wasn't outside anymore. It was everywhere. I made a decision that felt wrong even as I made it. I opened my bedroom door. The hallway was a tunnel of shadow and cold air. The front door stood wide open, fog curling in from outside like breath from something massive. In the middle of the living room, the woman in red stood facing the door, her back to me. The copy of me stood beside her. They didn't turn when I stepped out. I could see her dress clearly now. It wasn't cloth. It was layered, heavy, textured like something grown rather than sewn. Dark red, almost black in places, like it had soaked up years of something. I took a step forward. The floor felt damp. Another step. The fog from the open door thickened, and beyond it I could see headlights. A road. Not my street. The road. The same stretch of asphalt, the same trees, the same emptiness. The crossing. She turned, slowly. I saw her face again, clearer this time. Not rotten. Not monstrous. Just wrong. As if her features had been stretched thin by time and water and waiting. Her eyes focused on me with something like satisfaction. "You came back," she said. I swallowed. "You said I broke it," I said. "The crossing," she nodded. "And now you can repair it," she said. The copy of me looked at me then. Up close, I could see the differences. The eyes too still, the smile too practiced. Like a mask learning how to behave. "If you take my place," he said quietly, "I can go." My chest tightened. "You were me," I whispered. He nodded once. "I stopped," he said. "Just not soon enough." The woman in red stepped aside, revealing the full view of the road beyond the doorway. Wind rushed in, carrying the smell of wet earth and cold water. I could hear an engine approaching in the distance. "You stand," she said to me. "The rule is repaired." "And him?" I asked. She tilted her head. "He leaves," she said. "As you were supposed to?" I looked at the copy of me. He didn't look angry. He looked tired. "I don't want this," I said. She smiled, not cruel, not kind. "None of you ever do," she said. "That's why the rule works." The headlights grew brighter, closer, a car approaching the crossing. I felt the pull in my chest, like gravity shifting. The copy of me stepped toward the door. "She's already counting," he said. "Every second you hesitate changes the road." I looked at the woman in red. "What happens if I run?" I asked. Her smile faded just a little. "Then there will be two of you," she said. "And the road will need to correct itself." The engine sound grew louder. I thought of the dent in my hood, the missing body, the footprints, the dreams, the message. "Next time, stop." I stepped forward. The moment my foot crossed the threshold, the air changed. Thicker, colder. The sound of the engine seemed to slow, stretching like time itself was reluctant. I stood in the road, barefoot, cold asphalt under my feet. The woman in red stood on the shoulder, watching. The copy of me stood behind her, already fading at the edges like mist in sunlight. The approaching car slowed, stopped. The driver's door opened. I raised my hand, not to wave, to signal, to stop, and the moment I did, I felt it to click, like something massive and invisible locking into place. The rule repaired,